Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel if you're a returning viewer. If you're new here, my name is Terry. Thank you for joining me. I focus primarily on pen reviews, mostly fountain pens, with an occasional ballpoint or gel pen thrown in there, as well as a pencil occasionally, and I also talk about art every now and then. Today's pen is the Wahl-Eversharp Decoband. This pen has been on my radar for quite a while. It's kind of a, I would say, a grayish pen for me. This was on eBay for about a month, maybe a little bit more than a month. I was eyeing it for about a month, I know. And the seller kept reducing the price, and I had it in and out of my cart, and finally the seller offered me a price that I couldn't refuse. So I got this for about $460, I want to say, $465. So yeah, and you can see the color is jade with some silver trim. You see the deco band there, goes all the way around. It says Wahl-Eversharp on the clip, and there's a W, nothing really at the top finial, just black, and at the bottom finial we have black, but we have a little hole here, and that's for the filling system. Basically you unscrew this. I don't really want to do it because I'm inking here, but you unscrew this and pull it out, cover it up, and then push it in, and that creates pressure that fills up the sack in there. I think it's just a silicone sack. I have been having quite a bit of trouble getting a good feel, so I think my hands are just weak, my fingers are weak or something, but hopefully I'll get the feel of it. So this is the nib. It's a 14 karat gold nib. It's a super flex. It is a bit stained there with Waterman's inspired blue. There's the feed. They also have 18 karat gold versions. I think the section is pretty comfortable, but you can see it's a thick pen. The section is, measure it. At the bottom it is 12.5 millimeters, and it gets a little thicker. So let's say 12.5 all the way up to 14. So it's fairly thick. And it's also a long pen. You can post it, but it doesn't post very securely, and you can see how long that is. It's a bit of a clownish pen almost, and because of the size, but I was very attracted to it because of the history of Wahl-Eversharp and the looks. I just like the band and the clip there and the W. Typically I don't go for pens quite this large, but I first saw these in this book, Fountain Pens of the World, by Andreas Lambrou. And you can see here, once I saw them here, I was just like, ooh, that is nice. Like this one particularly is lovely, and this is the rosewood hard rubber. So yeah, when I saw that, I actually wish this was a lever filler. It'd probably be much easier for me to fill. I'm very used to lever fillers, just not this system. So that's where I first saw it. And then I went back and forth on eBay, and the prices were always a little bit too much for me. And then Chattery Luxuries also had some that were just a tad bit, a little bit too expensive. So I actually got this one when I was looking for one of these. This is a Wahl-Eversharp Doric, and this is actually one of my favorite pens. These two pens are about as opposite as you can get, and I'll show you a writing sample of this. I think this has been in one of my currently inked videos. So I'm going to show you what comes in the box. It's just a plain old box, outer box. in the inner box. Pen Ultimate Dave has a couple of these, and I had the same experience. You know, the pen is so big that it doesn't fit here. This is a nice magnetic closure here, but the pen is so big that it doesn't, you know, it doesn't even close over. So the pen, this was actually just kind of thrown in here, under here like this, because it doesn't fit in the enclosure. I don't know why they don't just make it bigger, but I like the idea of the pen setting in there. But that's the inner box, and you just have We Are Writing History. There's some more Decobands, some more of the other pens. I'm trying to see how long the warranty is. It doesn't really say. They said they have a liberal return policy, so maybe it's a lifetime. I'll have to read it. That's the box. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. So I'll show you some writing samples. Well, before I get to writing samples, I'll stick to the size, and I'll show you how it compares to some of my other pens. So in here we have the Decoband. This is a Benu Euphoria, which is just a tad bit longer. And then we have a Leonardo Momento Grande. This is a masterpiece that's also just a tad bit longer. I think this is probably the only one, the Jinhao 9019, that beats it in girth. But you can see from closest in size to not so close how big that pen is. It is very close to these. I would say these four here: the Benu, the Leonardo, and the Opus 88. But that is the size. So we'll see how it writes. So my only issue is that because I'm not getting a good feel, and because it is a super wet writer, I do tend to run out of ink very quickly. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So this is the Wahl-Eversharp. You can see how wet it is. And this is the Jade. Now I don't see where it says fine, extra fine, or anything. It just says Superflex. So this is a 14 karat. It feels like a broad Superflex. The ink in here is Waterman, Inspired Blue. I really like Waterman Inspired Blue because of the shading. It has a real nice dark blue to light blue shading with it. So I'll show you a little bit here. Definitely one of my favorite inks. You can see there. You can see it's still wet. So as far as line weight, you're definitely going to get a nice line weight variation with this. And I'll keep pressing until the feed railroads. The feed does a decent job of keeping up, but when you press too hard, it will railroad. It usually doesn't railroad. I may have already run out of ink, but it does have a nice flex. And in reverse, a little bit scratchy, but I prefer this line weight here. This is a lot thicker of a line weight than I'm used to. If you watch any of my previous videos, you know I like to stay pretty much within the fine, extra fine realm, but it's okay to venture out every now and then. So this was, I'm going to say, $4.65 on eBay, which is I think a decent price for this. See if the feed has caught up yet, and it hasn't. But anyway, that is the flex. So pros and cons. Cons, I would say the price. Even though I got it for a decent price, I would still say it's fairly expensive. The size is probably not for everyone. For me, nib size is a little bit not size, but line weight is a little too broad for me. But if you like broads, then this would be a good pen for you. The filling system, I find it to be finicky. Some pros, and I say mine anyway, runs out of ink quickly. I would say pros. It is a smooth writer. A quality build. For sure. I can definitely feel the quality in it. Has a nice large nib. I think this, what is this, a number size 8 maybe? If you like large nibs. I'm going to fill this up since I have my bottle open over here. So I'm just going to unscrew this. I'm going to keep unscrewing. I'm going to pull it out. Oop. And I'm going to make a mess. Okay. So we should have enough, at least for the video. I just made a mess. I don't think this pen likes me very much, but it's going to have to like me. I said large nib. I'm going to say number 8, maybe. I know a lot of people like large nibs. I like the look of large nibs. It doesn't really make me write any better. But I do like large nibs. Nice flex. It's some history to it. Let me see, since I filled it. That's much better. You can see that. And if you like wet writers, it's very, very wet. So make sure I'm still in frame. So that's the Wahl-Eversharp Decoband. This is one of those pens that I'm going to have to get used to, just like I think my Peniter I had to get used to, and a couple other pens. The Pelican I had to get used to. So this is just one that I'm just going to have to force myself on it, or force itself on me. I think at the end of the day, or at the end of maybe 6 months, I think this will definitely grow on me as I just learn how it fits in with my writing. This is definitely not a journaling pen. Let me see. You can see there, and for a lefty, I've never tried to write with this with my left hand. It does okay on this black and red notebook, which is Oxford Optic paper. So it does okay on this paper. Doesn't really seep through. But you can see here on the Yoseka log, just in doing the line thickness comparison, it's bled all over this paper. But you can see how wet it is. I think on a normal piece of paper, it'd probably be off the scale. So you can see a lot of what is it called when it kind of smears there? Not ghosting. There's another word for it, and I'm drawing a blank now. But there's some of my other thoughts. I said one of the pros is that it's a large pen, but it doesn't feel overly weighted. The feed does not always keep up, but it does okay most of the time. And so as far as the line width, it is about a 0.5 plus. Feathering, that's what it's doing. And you can see it just totally bled through this paper onto this side. But that's the Wahl-Eversharp Decoband in jade. So I'm going to talk about some of my other Wahls. Again, this is the Doric, and this was considered an oversized pen as well back in the day. But you can see there it posts really nicely. This is a Wahl-Eversharp Doric, and this is more along my line of line weight. I think this is like an extra fine. 14 karat. That's a Doric, and this is a piston filler. You can see size comparison. And then we have the Wahl Oxford, which I don't think is inked. But let me see if I can dip it. And I think maybe this is a less expensive model, so they dropped the Eversharp. But this is what is this nib? Let me check what this nib is. So this is a firm medium. You dip a little bit more. It's a steel. It's a little rough. I need to smooth this a bit. This is not the best writer, but it's okay. It just needs a little bit of work. So this is the Wahl Oxford. It's a lever filler. And again, size comparison. This is about the same size as the Doric. And last to the other extreme is this Wahl Bantam, which kind of reminds me a little bit of a Lilliput, a Kaweco Lilliput. So I need to dip this as well. I rarely use this one, it's so small. But it posts okay. So this is a Wahl, it writes really nicely. This is a Wahl Bantam, it's not an Eversharp. You see it has nice flex. This is it says O, I don't know what that means, but it doesn't feel like, maybe it's oblique, I don't know. But it's a 14 karat. See, it has nice flex to it. There's no ink in here, I'm just dipping it, so it's not gonna, but you can get an idea of the flex there. And that, it's a nice little pen. And you just unscrew it here, and there's a sack. You just squeeze, feel it. I guess it's good for little notes or something. It's more of a novelty pen than anything. But you can see how they compare. And the Decoband, it's a monster. So I'm just gonna, one more time, let you see the comparison of the line weights. This feels like a Sharpie almost to me. Wahl-Eversharp. The ink flow is not very controlled, and my handwriting doesn't love this pen at all. But I'm going to work with it. Superflex 14 karat. Maybe with the right paper. Usually the black and red does pretty well, but maybe I need to try drier ink also. So I'm gonna definitely work with it. But you can just see how crazy wet that is. You can see my finger. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the Wahl-Eversharp Decoband. Overall, it's a very nice pen, very quality made pen. For me, I just wish that the line weight wasn't so thick. As far as size, maybe just one of those pens that you want to try before you buy it, if you can find it somewhere where you can just try it, or if you can, find it at a really discounted price, just take a chance. Overall, I'm happy that I purchased it. It's just not quite perfect yet, but I'm going to definitely work with it. Definitely not an everyday writer for me, but kind of a niche writer. Maybe a good drawing pen or something. But again, that's all I had to say about the Wahl-Eversharp Decoband. I hope you're all doing well. It's getting pretty chilly here in Maryland. I feel like I'm going from having my AC on to wanting to turn my heat on. But I'm going to hold off as long as I can from turning the heat on. It's so expensive. I can't buy Wahl-Eversharp Decobands and heat the house, so I have to make a choice there. But again, thanks everyone that's been watching my videos, that's been commenting, especially on my Charles Bark video, the video that I did about a month and a half ago, showing some of the lessons that I completed in the Bark book. I think it has like over 1,000 views now. I've never had 1,000 people look at my art, so it's a good feeling. I definitely appreciate it, all the likes on it and everything. So thank you all. Again, I hope you're all doing well. Stay warm or stay cool wherever you are. Take care.